Hello, my name is Victor Cooper, and my project was on Varicella-Zoster, VZV for short, also known as chickenpox. And I picked VZV because the sickest I ever was when I had chickenpox at age 6. I missed nearly 3 weeks of school. It was a very rough time. I was getting frequent nosebleeds, high fever. Wouldn't go through that again if you paid me. So what is varicella-zoster? It is one of 8 herpes viruses that infect humans, and it causes chickenpox. Children are typically who come down with this virus. You can get it at an older age, but for the most part, children are uh, the main populace that is susceptible to varicella-zoster virus. And before the vaccine in 1995, it was rampant throughout the population. And at one point, most children before age of 10 would have been infected by the virus. Nowadays, the incidence rate is about 13 to 16 cases per 1,000. In some climates and temperate climates, that can be around 1 out of 10. Um, Symptoms of the disease, most notoriously, is the rash, which is predominantly located on our axial frame, like our trunk, like our chest, stomach, sides, our back, our neck, and face. And for children who like to scratch, who are very, they will subconsciously, scratch. Well, all of us, we will subconsciously like scratch our face and stuff. So for it to be located on the face, you can see why it can spread so rapidly is because um, when we feel something itchy on our face, we like to, scratch at it. And little did I know before researching varicella zoster is that the way it spreads is through the air by way of particles that come from those vesicles from that rash. So when you scratch it, it breaks them open, they aerate, they go into the air, we breathe it in, we're infected with VZV. And one remains contagious with this disease until those scabs or until that rash has scabbed over. So it takes between 10 to 14 days, sometimes longer, before one is no longer contagious. The fever, you have fever, cough, runny nose. That usually lasts between 5 and 7 days. The rash lasts just a little bit longer. In some cases, it can last, up to 3 weeks or so. Um, there's complications. There can be complications come from chicken pox. You can get an infection of the skin, pneumonia, encephalitis, and so more on the pathogen itself. Genus is herpes virus. Family or kingdom is Herpesvirus. It is the smallest, uh, has the smallest genome of any herpes virus. The whole thing is roughly 150 to 200 nanometers in diameter, and uh, varicella-zoster virus only infects humans. There are no other animals who are susceptible to this virus, only us, and it targets the T lymphocytes, the epithelial cells, and our ganglia. Um, and in our ganglia uh, is where the virus can lay dormant after we've had chickenpox for many years, and it can come back as shingles, which is herpes zoster. But there are 5 descendants of Varicella-Zoster. You have uh, 1, 3, and 5, which are European, 2, which is Asian, and the Oka strain, which is of the of that strain, um, of that clade, is mainly the one used in vaccines for varicella, and clade 4 is African. Um, so yeah, shingles, I already went over that. It's just a more intense rash, painful, typically can uh, it typically is something you see in older people just because their immune systems have become more compromised as they've aged. Um, main treatments for varicella are antivirals. You have acyclovir, which is kind of the main go-to, where it just sort of uh, helps stop replication of the virus in the body. Um, there's other antivirals. I mean, you have peniciclovir, famciclovir, valacyclovir. Um, but for treating viruses, as most people know, there isn't much we can do for that. Antivirals are one thing, just treating the fever with things such as Tylenol, acetaminophen, and in the case of chickenpox, where there's a rash and where, by spreading that, the way of spreading that virus is, by scratching it, things such as anti-itch creams um, is typically how we would treat it at home. So treating the fever, uh, treating to the itchy rash until those symptoms just kind of cease. Um, so on the vaccine side of things, the vaccine was highly effective beforehand. The U.S. was seeing about 4 million cases per year, uh, around 150 deaths per year. Um, and as I said at the beginning, most children before age 10 had chicken pox. So the vaccine has decreased numbers exponentially. It's cut the numbers down by several times. Now we see only about 150,000 cases per year. Nowhere near as many deaths, not even 30 per year from chickenpox. While it's not 100% effective, it's still effective, and it's recommended for children under the age of 13. It's given in 2 rounds. The first is usually before age 2, and the second is given between, around the time children are of age to go to grade school, so around 5, 6 years old. Um, it is not approved to be given to anyone who's pregnant or anyone who is immunocompromised, so um, chemo, AIDS, anything like that is really not someone who should be looking at getting the vaccine. And for the most part, it's something that's just recommended to have as when one is younger. Um, but you can get it regardless of your age. There's just certain things you may want to look at. You might want to consider before getting the vaccine. The impact, I already said, has cut down the numbers by more than 97%. It has saved nearly well, a little over $23 billion in healthcare costs. The vaccines between $50 to $200. Most people can probably get it for free. Um, it's one of those vaccines that, has really proved to be effective in treating what was an epidemic. Now we're to the point where it's endemic, where numbers are under control, and you won't you don't really ever see you know outbreaks, maybe in certain areas of the world where the vaccine's not available, but for the most part, anywhere where it's available, numbers are nothing like they were prior to the vaccine. And a little interesting tidbit about chickenpox is that in 2011 there were parents of children who were buying chickenpox laced candies, lollipops, as a way of exposing their children to the virus, which is pretty a much more odd way of exposing your child opposed to vaccination. I really don't think that worked in the first place, but yeah, they went to jail. I don't know if they served hard time, but definitely something odd that I thought would be pretty interesting to mention. So that's the end of my presentation. I thank you all for watching.